Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Lebanon. All of them, according to the Bush administration, front lines in the global war on terror. Now, that's a view that causes unease among some in Europe, but not my guest today. Till 2 years ago, he was Spain's Prime Minister. He's still a close friend and trusted advisor of George Bush. But is he out of step with his own continent?
Jose Maria Aznar, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you very much.
I would like to quote to you your own words from a big speech you made in March of this year. You said, "We are at war. Terrorists must be defeated. No other policy exists for me." Those words could have been spoken by George Bush, couldn't they?
Well, George Bush is a very good friend for me, no? But I think that terrorists can be defeated, and that terrorists should be defeated. And during my life, I fight in terrorism at home, abroad, and I think I have demonstrated that it is possible to defeat terrorism. I am no support the idea of containment, of appeasement, and surrender of terrorism. I support the idea to defend the idea to fight in terrorism. And I'm sure, convinced that it's possible to defeat it.
But terrorism is not about nation states. It's not about armies. Terrorism, in the end, is about ideas, ideology, and particularly about hatred. How can you win a war against hatred?
You are right. You are right. Because we fight it, we combat not only cells of terrorists or activists of terrorism, but we combat an ideology. And this ideology is based in the hate in different parts of the world. No? For example, at home in my country, in Spain, the ideology of the terrorists of ETA is hate to Spain. No? ETA. No? The Islamic terrorists is hated to the Western values. No? But it's necessary to define this ideology as a criminal ideology and to fight in the ideology at the cells that the activists that make the attacks, make terrorism. No?
But you have been going around Europe for some time now, making big set-piece speeches, telling Europeans that, for example, NATO has to completely redefine itself and redefine its objectives so that it can combat this new global threat, as you see it, from Islamist terrorism. How do you propose that NATO should change to take on this very different sort of threat?
Transform NATO, because NATO is created to defend our freedoms and liberties from the threat of the Soviet Union. But the Soviet Union does not exist. But the terrorists exist. The objective of NATO is to guarantee our freedom, our democracy, our prosperity. How is the main threat in the world in this moment? Terrorism. In my view, the objective of NATO should be to fight against terrorism for better guarantee freedom and stability and democracy and security. And I propose a new dimension in the NATO, is the dimension of homeland security. A new commander in the NATO is a commander dedicated to fight terror, and a new enlargement in NATO. No longer necessary in the countries of Eastern Europe, former communist country, but in other countries, in the way to fight terror. For example,
which countries?
Israel.
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 You believe Israel should be in NATO?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's stop there for a moment.
Well,
Israel currently is bombarding Lebanon.
Yeah.
It says that its actions in Lebanon are a part of the war against terrorism. Do you believe that?
Yes. Hezbollah is a terrorist group. is defined and considered as a terrorist group. Hamas is a terrorist group, is considered as a terrorist group. Both are supported by Iranian regime, maybe by Syrian regime, but Hezbollah is a terrorist group. And Hezbollah enter in the Israel territory, catch 2 soldiers, kidnap the soldiers, killing another people, and this is an attack, terrorist attack.
So let's be clear. You are saying you believe Israel should be in NATO.
Yeah.
NATO, as you know, runs upon the idea of collective security and mutual self-defense. So you are now saying that NATO should be bombing Lebanon.
If it's necessary, yes. Because I consider that Israel is a part and center of the Western world. And I consider that my interest, my democracy, my freedom, my prosperity, my liberty, in grand measure, pass in this moment for the existence of Israel. And for Israel, this struggle is a struggle vital for their existence. It's vital for their existence. And they combat terrorism. And I support this idea that it's necessary to guarantee the existence of Israel. But Israel is a part of the Western world.
But do you think there is any appetite in most capitals of NATO member states for what you would regard as the necessity of joining in Israel's bombardment of Lebanon and also the besieging of Gaza in their campaign against Hamas? You seriously think you can hold NATO together and keep it as a coherent organization with that kind of view of its future?
With the current rules of the NATO, the Article 5 that consider an attack a member of NATO an attack of all of members of the NATO, the response is voluntarily. This is one reason. The other part is precisely for this reason, I consider that the guarantees of the Western world established around Israel as a member of the NATO is better for our stability, our prosperity, and for the rest of the region of the Middle East. Is NATO will be a guarantee for stability. But to make the decision to allow that Israel can be attacked for terrorism